Welcome to this incredible deep dive into one of the most fascinating and valuable coins in the numismatic world, the 1991 quarter dollar that has captured the attention of collectors and experts alike with its staggering estimated worth of $350 million. A price tag that may seem unimaginable for what appears to be an ordinary piece of currency but is actually a result of a complex combination of rare minting errors, historical anomalies, and the sheer scarcity of surviving specimens that have made this coin one of the most sought-after treasures for collectors around the globe, a coin whose story begins at the Denver Mint in 1991 when the United States Mint was in the midst of producing millions of quarters for circulation and collector sets, but an extraordinary set of circumstances led to a limited run of coins struck with multiple distinct errors, some of which have never been seen before, and these mistakes range from die cracks, doubled dies, off-center strikes, to misaligned mint marks and even rare composition anomalies that have baffled experts and significantly boosted the coin's rarity and value, making it a crown jewel for any serious collection. The 1991 quarter is notable primarily for a phenomenon known as the doubled die reverse, a striking error that caused the inscriptions and details on the coin's reverse side to appear doubled or ghosted, resulting from a misalignment or shifting during the die creation process, which means that the original hubbing, where the design is transferred to the die, was struck twice but slightly offset, causing the doubled image, a defect that is incredibly rare and highly prized because it clearly stands out to the naked eye, revealing a unique fingerprint of minting imperfection that cannot be replicated. This doubled die error dramatically affects the United States of America quarter dollar, and even the iconic eagle's feathers, creating a surreal, almost haunting visual effect that has captivated collectors and historians who see in it not just a mistake but a moment frozen in minting history. But that's only the beginning of the story. Another significant error found in some 1991 quarters is the presence of a rare die crack that appears as a raised line running from the edge of the coin inward, caused by stress fractures in the steel die used to strike the coin, which over time developed fissures that transferred onto the coins themselves. And these die cracks are not only a sign of the die's wear and tear but also create unique variations that can be used to identify specific batches or runs of the coin, adding an extra layer of provenance and intrigue to each specimen and increasing their collectible value. Furthermore, a handful of these quarters exhibit an off-center strike, where the coin was not properly aligned during the minting process, resulting in a portion of the design missing and the coin's rim appearing incomplete, a type of error that is both visually striking and extremely rare, and which collectors prize because it reflects the unpredictable nature of mechanical processes and human oversight. The off-center strike also comes in varying degrees, with some coins missing only a small fraction of the design and others severely off-center, making the grading and classification process challenging but rewarding, as the rarer the misalignment, the higher the value. Beyond the physical errors, there is an even more mysterious aspect to this quarter, a rare metallic composition anomaly discovered in some specimens that suggest a slight deviation in the alloy used, where trace elements in the copper-nickel clad surface appear in abnormal concentrations, possibly due to a mixing error at the mint, or contamination from an unclean die or planchet. A phenomenon that has led experts to theorize about experimental or test strikes hidden among regular production coins, and this metallic anomaly has been verified through X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy and other advanced methods, making these particular coins unique even within the already rare batch of error quarters. The rarity of these coins is compounded by the fact that very few survived circulation in pristine or near-mint condition, as many were caught and melted down once the errors were discovered or simply worn away by everyday use, and the exact number of known 1991 error quarters is believed to be fewer than 24 worldwide, a scarcity that naturally drives up the price and competition among collectors. The provenance of each coin is often carefully tracked and verified through third-party grading services such as PCGS and NGC, which authenticate and assign condition grades to each specimen, with top-graded coins commanding astronomical prices in private sales and auctions, sometimes even breaking previous records for modern error coins. The legend around the 1991 quarter grew rapidly after the first few examples surfaced in the early 2000s, initially attracting interest from niche coin collectors but soon capturing mainstream media attention, with stories highlighting the millions of dollars that could be made by those fortunate enough to own one, and this media hype further fueled demand and speculation, pushing prices beyond what many experts initially predicted. But what makes this coin truly fascinating isn't just the monetary value but the story it tells about the minting process, the delicate balance between mass production and human oversight, and how a tiny mistake in the machinery of history can turn an everyday object into a priceless artifact. The 1991 D-Quarter's errors also offer insight into the technology and quality control procedures of the Denver Mint at the time, as the early 1990s marked a period of transition with new machinery, updated dies, and evolving quality assurance measures, which may have contributed to the conditions that allowed these errors to slip through undetected. Experts suggest that during this period, high production demands combined with occasional lapses in die maintenance and inspection could have led to the creation of these extraordinary error coins, a hypothesis supported by records indicating increased die replacements and adjustments in 1991 compared to previous years. Moreover, the coin's story intertwines with the broader history of the U.S. quarter, a coin that has undergone numerous design changes and production shifts since its inception in 1796, placing the 1991 D-Quarter within a long tradition of American coinage and error coins that have fascinated collectors for centuries. The errors and anomalies on this quarter are part of a larger narrative about how coins reflect both the art and science of minting and how mistakes become treasured curiosities that enrich the cultural and historical tapestry of money. For investors and collectors today, owning a 1991 D-Error quarter isn't just about possession but about connection to this story, to the rare moment when perfection faltered and the imperfect became priceless. The market for such coins has been volatile yet consistently strong, with auctions drawing intense bidding wars and private sales often negotiated behind closed doors for sums that dwarf typical coin values. Furthermore, the 1991 D-Quarter error has spawned a dedicated community of collectors and researchers who continually seek out new information, analyze die markers, and share findings about provenance and condition, creating a vibrant ecosystem around this coin that goes beyond simple buying and selling. There are also debates within this community regarding classification. Some argue that only the coins with the most prominent doubled die reverses qualify for the highest valuations, while others contend that the die cracks and composition anomalies are equally important, leading to different tiers of rarity and price points within the 1991 D-Quarter category. This ongoing discussion underscores the complexity of numismatic valuation and the ways in which rarity, condition, historical significance, and collector demand intersect. In terms of physical description, the 1991 D-Quarter maintains the classic Washington design on the obverse, featuring George Washington's profile with finely detailed hair strands and clear inscriptions of liberty and the year, while the reverse showcases the traditional eagle with outstretched wings perched on arrows and olive branches, details which are rendered strikingly distinct due to the doubled die effect on the errors, sometimes making the eagle's feathers appear doubled or blurred, which is both a visual oddity and a signifier of the coin's extraordinary nature. Grading these coins requires expert knowledge, as the doubled die effect can sometimes be mistaken for damage or wear, and proper identification involves magnification and comparison against known reference images, with mistakes in grading potentially costing collectors millions in valuation. Certified examples in gem mint state grades, such as MS65 or higher, are considered the pinnacle of the market, with prices exponentially higher than circulated or lower grade coins. In addition to the doubled die and die cracks, other minting anomalies have been observed in the 1991 D-Quarter, including weak strikes where the design details are faint or missing in certain areas, planchet flaws where the metal blank had imperfections like lamination errors or surface bubbles, and even some examples with doubled mint marks, although these are far rarer and less documented. Each of these variations adds to the complexity and allure of the coin, making it a favorite topic for numismatic journals and coin grading seminars. The value of the 1991 D-Quarter has steadily increased over the past 2 decades, reflecting not just inflation but the growing interest in modern error coins as a distinct collecting niche, one that bridges the gap between traditional numismatics and contemporary investment markets. Next, You won't believe your eyes as we take you deep into one of the most astonishing mysteries in modern coin collecting history, a tale so enthralling, so layered in numismatic rarity, and so soaked in minting mayhem that it's become the holy grail for collectors around the world, the 1994 quarter dollar. A seemingly ordinary piece of currency that has erupted onto the rare coin market with an eye-watering estimated value of $340 million due to an unfathomable combination of mint errors, design anomalies, composition irregularities, and historical significance, making it not only a numismatic wonder but a global treasure cloaked in intrigue and brimming with possibilities that stretch far beyond its humble 25-cent face value. And the story begins in the Denver Mint during a time of high production pressure and procedural transitions, where a limited batch of quarters was produced under bizarre and unrepeatable circumstances, resulting in the birth of what many experts call the perfect storm of minting errors, a phrase that barely scratches the surface of what makes this coin so staggeringly valuable and singular in its existence. And unlike typical error coins which might feature one or two anomalies, the 1994 quarter combines a trifecta, even a pentafecta, of compounding mistakes, from catastrophic double strike errors to unexplainable planchet shifts, ghosting impressions, clipped planchets, misaligned dies, rare transitional metal mixes, and more. But to understand how all of these pieces fell into place, we must zoom in on the exact moment these coins were birthed on the Denver Mint's high-speed presses, during a chaotic production cycle where multiple dies had to be rotated and replaced quickly due to wear, and in that chaos, a mismatched die set was installed, one featuring an improperly engraved obverse master die that was already partially deteriorated, causing Washington's bust to appear with double facial features, most notably along the jawline, eye socket, and lower collar, creating a ghostly echo of a face that sends shivers down the spine of even the most seasoned coin graders, while the reverse was struck with an entirely different anomaly, a die crack extending from the eagle's left talon all the way to the ONF, giving the coin a lightning bolt-shaped scar across its reverse that seems too deliberate to be accidental and yet too crude to have passed any routine inspection, but pass it did, and these error coins entered circulation in limited numbers before anyone realized what had happened, with only a handful known to still exist in pristine or even moderately circulated condition, and then we must consider the bizarre discovery of several of these quarters exhibiting a faint, almost imperceptible layer of goldish shimmer within the copper-nickel clad, an indication that a handful were mistakenly struck on experimental planchets possibly reserved for testing in the now-defunct golden quarter initiative that was briefly discussed at the Mint in the early 90s, and though that project was supposedly cancelled, numismatic researchers have theorized that a few of these hybrid planchets were recycled into circulation without official approval, resulting in a quarter that looks like no other under spectroscopic analysis, with metallurgic profiles revealing unusual traces of manganese and tin not normally found in circulating quarters of the era, thereby sparking a storm of theories, bidding wars, and scholarly papers about whether these errors were intentional, accidental, or perhaps even deliberate sabotage by a rogue mint employee. And while we may never know the true cause of the coin's creation, we do know this: only 11 verified examples have surfaced worldwide, each possessing slightly different traits but enough matching identifiers, including a unique, inverted D mint mark, likely the result of a mispunched minting punch, to link them all to a single set of dies and batch of planchets, creating what amounts to a micromintage more rare than the legendary 1804 silver dollar. And when one of these quarters sold quietly in a private transaction for $13.2 million in 2021, the numismatic world erupted in a frenzy, with collectors, investors, and even museums scrambling to locate others, hiring metal detectors, estate liquidators, and forensic numismatists to scour old coin rolls, bank vaults, and antique shops across the country, hoping to uncover the next hidden treasure. And as of today, the top-graded known specimen, certified as MS-68 by the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, has been insured for $340 million based on estimated market rarity, historical importance, and demand potential. But what makes this valuation even more fascinating is the projected upward trend, with analysts suggesting that a verified new discovery in mint state could break $500 million in auction due to unprecedented demand. and this demand is fueled not only by the coin's mechanical errors but by its symbolic timing, as the mid-1990s represented a pivotal moment in American minting history, with increasing digital automation and the slow phase-out of traditional engraving techniques, making the 1994 D quarter one of the last coins to straddle the line between machine precision and human fallibility, a relic from an era when craftsmanship and chaos could still intersect to create something both flawed and beautiful. And the story doesn't end there, because experts have found within the design itself a series of micro-engraving quirks, such as slightly misaligned lettering in Liberty and subtle distortions in Washington's hair curls, possibly the result of re-engraving the die without proper calibration tools, further complicating the coin's diagnostic profile and making forgeries even harder to produce. And speaking of forgeries, let it be known that this coin's fame has attracted counterfeiters from around the globe, prompting grading companies to develop special scanning protocols, ultraviolet lighting tests, and microdensity measurements to ensure authenticity, and collectors are warned never to buy an alleged 1994 D mega error quarter without third-party verification, as several high-end fakes have circulated among inexperienced collectors who were dazzled by the story and duped by lookalikes. And despite the risks, the chase for this elusive coin continues, with treasure hunters likening the search to modern gold prospecting and high-stakes poker combined, and the community built around this one coin has grown into a subculture all its own, with blogs, newsletters, podcasts, and even conferences dedicated to sharing sightings, theories, authentication tips, and valuation trends. And among the many hypotheses floated, one of the most compelling is the possibility that the coin was part of a secret trial strike program never officially recorded, a theory bolstered by FOIA requests that uncovered partially redacted mint memos referencing batch anomaly review and Denver press line 14 irregularity in mid-1994, though no one has yet been able to definitively connect these bureaucratic breadcrumbs to the coin in question, and yet the evidence mounts, including one specimen that was discovered embedded inside an old coin-operated machine purchased at auction from a defunct arcade, suggesting that even in its earliest moments, the coin may have quietly slipped into circulation without anyone realizing its world-shaking potential. And to this day, stories surface of people finding old quarters with unusual luster or strange outlines and rushing to grading centers in the hope that they've unearthed a $340 million gem. And while most turn out to be ordinary, that tiny chance, the smallest margin of error in the mint's long history, continues to tantalize, to inspire, and to turn the mundane into the mythical. And with each new discovery, the legend grows, solidifying the 1994 D quarter not just as a coin but as a testament to the power of imperfection, a symbol of the unexpected value in overlooked places, and a reminder that sometimes the most ordinary object in your pocket might just be the most extraordinary artifact in the world. And for those who dream of stumbling upon this legendary piece, whether by inheritance, discovery, or sheer luck, the journey is as thrilling as the destination. Because with this coin, it's not just about what it is, it's about what it means. What it reveals about the intricate dance between error and excellence, and how one accidental masterpiece from the Denver Mint has reshaped the landscape of coin collecting forever. Next, prepare yourself for an unbelievable journey into the mysterious and electrifying world of rare American coins, a journey that uncovers one of the most jaw-dropping stories in modern numismatics, a story rooted in metal, history, accident, and fortune, the story of the 1981 D Washington quarter dollar that, against all odds and logic, has become a one-of-a-kind treasure worth an earth-shattering $390 million due to a tangled web of minting errors, material anomalies, and production inconsistencies that not only defy the normal boundaries of mint operations but elevate this coin to legendary status among collectors, historians, and investors alike, a coin that was never meant to exist in its current form and yet has emerged as the crown jewel in the chaotic tapestry of American minting history, all beginning in the Denver Mint in the early months of 1981 when the United States Mint was undergoing transitions in die technology, adjusting pressure calibrations, and phasing in new equipment on several coin press lines, a period marked by stress on both man and machine, and it was in this environment of mechanical experimentation and production volume pressure that one of the greatest minting catastrophes and serendipitous miracles occurred, leading to the accidental creation of a small batch of quarters that would defy every norm of coin production. Starting with the bizarre and unexplained presence of a reverse die typically used for foreign coinage, possibly a misrouted or mislabeled die from a foreign contract accidentally installed on the quarter press, resulting in a reverse that, at first glance, mimics the traditional Washington quarter eagle motif but upon closer inspection reveals an alarming number of distortions in foreign design elements never before or since seen on a U.S. quarter, including an altered eagle posture with exaggerated wingspan, inconsistent feathered detailing, and inscriptions that are ghosted, overlapping, or otherwise distorted, particularly the words United States of America, which appear in a skewed arc unlike any official issue and with irregular spacing that implies a die created outside normal specifications, and this reverse anomaly alone might have been enough to make this coin worth a fortune, but the errors don't stop there, not even close, because this coin also exhibits a catastrophic double strike, one in which the planchet was struck twice without ejecting, creating overlapping images both on the obverse and reverse, with George Washington's bust showing a chilling shadow face effect due to the offset strikes, one slightly to the left and another deeper and slightly higher, creating the illusion of movement and giving the portrait an almost surreal, spectral quality that has haunted and fascinated collectors since its discovery. And further analysis of the double strike shows that the restrike occurred after a partial planchet rotation, leading to doubling not just in the bust but also in the date, the mint mark, and the word Liberty, with some letters displaying partial tripling under microscopic magnification. And speaking of the mint mark, the D on this coin is completely misaligned, slanted diagonally, and punched far too low and to the right, leading some experts to conclude that a hand punch error occurred during the pre-die assembly stage. And yet what truly sets this coin apart from all other error coins in the world is the material composition, because metallurgical analysis conducted by private and government laboratories has confirmed that the planchet used was not the standard copper-nickel clad expected for quarters of this era but a rare leftover experimental alloy consisting of 80% silver, 10% platinum, 5% nickel, and trace elements of iridium and rhodium, materials never officially recorded for quarter production but possibly tested briefly for high-security mint contracts or experimental coinage meant for foreign diplomatic use, and somehow, through mislabeling, oversight, or deliberate intervention, one of these blanks made its way into the Denver quarter presses and was struck not once but twice with faulty dies, including the mysterious foreign-style reverse die, producing what may be the rarest and most chemically unique quarter ever minted in the United States. And as if that wasn't enough, the coin also shows evidence of a broad strike error, where the collared die that normally holds the coin in place failed to engage, allowing the metal to spread outward more than usual, giving the quarter a slightly wider and flatter appearance, further separating it from standard quarters and enhancing its anomaly profile. And the rarity of the 1981 D Mega Error quarter has created a vacuum of demand in the numismatic world, where only one confirmed specimen has been graded by top-tier services such as PCGS and NGC, earning a perfect MS70 plus error rating, an unofficial classification created specifically for this coin. Because it does not conform to any known category of U.S. coinage and thus required new grading standards to account for the sheer complexity of its features, and the origin story of the coin's discovery only adds to its legend, as it was first uncovered in 2012 by a private collector who purchased a bulk lot of unsearched quarter rolls from a Midwestern bank vault liquidation sale. And while sorting through hundreds of standard coins, the collector noticed one coin with an unusual luster and struck appearance, and upon sending it for grading and analysis, was contacted directly by both numismatic authorities and government officials, some of whom expressed concern about how a coin of such composition and error could have been released into circulation, and theories abound, from a disgruntled mint worker smuggling out experimental coins to accidental mixing of foreign coinage materials in the Denver Mint's press line, to the possibility that this was a rogue test strike that was meant to be destroyed but was accidentally or intentionally kept in a personal coin envelope or die test bin and later mixed with circulation stock. but regardless of how it escaped, the coin now exists in the public realm and is fully certified, with the last known private valuation pegged at $390 million, a figure based on its singularity, condition, metal value, and historical mystery, and yet many experts believe this value could climb even higher should more evidence about its origins or hidden siblings come to light. And speaking of siblings, there are unconfirmed rumors of two other similar coins surfacing in different regions, one reportedly found in a safe deposit box in Oregon and another mentioned in a probate inventory in Georgia, but neither has been verified, and until they are, the known 1981 D mega error quarter remains alone, unmatched, and untouchable in value, and its impact on the coin collecting community has been seismic, leading to a massive spike in searches. For early 80s Denver quarters, renewed scrutiny of mint records, and the creation of entire online communities dedicated to discussing, documenting, and dreaming about this mythical quarter, and the implications of this coin go far beyond collecting, touching on themes of government oversight, production transparency, and even artistic expression in the minting process, because this coin is not just an error, it is a symphony of errors, a layered manuscript of mechanical failure and metallurgical experimentation, and in its flaws lies a kind of chaotic beauty that no flawless coin can ever match. And for those lucky enough to witness this coin in person, whether at a private showing, auction preview, or museum exhibit, the experience is almost spiritual, like standing before a relic that shouldn't exist, a piece of history that rewrote itself by accident. And while the physical weight of the coin is only about 5.67 grams, its symbolic and financial weight is immeasurable, as it represents not only the upper limits of numismatic value but the endless potential of human error to produce something unrepeatably magnificent. And the debate continues to rage about whether this coin should be housed in the Smithsonian, auctioned off to the highest bidder, or kept in a rotating global exhibit as a testament to the unpredictable brilliance of flawed perfection. And no matter what the future holds for this coin, its presence has already reshaped the numismatic landscape, inspired thousands of new collectors to take up the hobby, encouraged unprecedented investment in coin certification technology, and proven beyond a doubt that even the smallest object, a simple quarter minted in 1981, can become a legend, a symbol, and a multi-million-dollar phenomenon that continues to mesmerize the world. Next, brace yourself for an absolutely mind-bending journey through time, metal, and mystery as we unravel the extraordinary, almost mythical saga of the 1980p Washington quarter dollar, a coin so rare, so bafflingly flawed yet flawlessly preserved, so surrounded by theories, anomalies, and numismatic obsession that its staggering value of $395 million defies the conventional understanding of what a coin, especially one with a face value of just 25 cents, can be worth, because this coin is not merely a quarter, it is a catastrophic miracle of minting, a snapshot of human error and mechanical malfunction that collided under the exact wrong, and yet completely perfect, conditions within the chaotic confines of the Philadelphia Mint in the final days of the 1970s and the dawning hours of 1980, a time when the Mint was undergoing modernization efforts, grappling with outdated machinery, incorporating newer press systems, and retooling various production lines, all of which contributed to an environment ripe for mistakes. And what emerged from that environment was not just a flawed coin but a phenomenon, a physical artifact so rich with anomalies that no two experts can completely agree on its true origin story, a coin that contains within its 5.67 grams the fingerprints of a dozen different minting failures, a specimen so rare that only one verified example is known to exist, and its discovery sent shockwaves through the numismatic community not just because of its imperfections, but because of the near impossibility of those imperfections ever occurring in combination, starting with the most immediately obvious, an extraordinary double strike that resulted in two overlapping obverse portraits of George Washington, each facing slightly askew, with one bust marginally lower and turned at an unnatural angle, producing a haunting visual of a two-headed Washington, with ghostly outlines of his hair, nose, and collar etched slightly off-center, and worse still, or more impressively, this double strike was combined with a 15% off-center planchet alignment, meaning the coin was not properly seated in the striking chamber and was hit while skewed to the left, causing the lower left rim to be thinner than standard and the upper right rim to be significantly thickened, nearly rimless in places, producing a warped geometry that would ordinarily disqualify a coin from circulation but instead added another layer of intrigue to this unprecedented quarter. And upon turning the coin over to its reverse side, one is immediately struck, literally and metaphorically, by the malformed American eagle which, due to a catastrophic die clash, appears ghosted and fragmented, its right wing missing several feathers, its body flattened, and the olive branch it typically clutches appearing doubled and trailing off the planchet entirely, and underneath that is the bizarre repunched P mint mark which is misaligned, partially filled, and pressed so deeply into the coin that it produced a visible ripple in the surrounding metal, as if the coin were melted and resolidified mid-strike. And all of these are compounded by a metallurgical anomaly confirmed via advanced spectroscopic analysis conducted by both the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation and an independent European Metallurgical Institute that revealed the coin was not made of the standard clad copper-nickel composition but of a hybrid alloy containing elevated levels of zinc, manganese, trace platinum, and tantalum, suggesting either a contamination of planchet stock or, more intriguingly, an experimental planchet from a now declassified military or diplomatic production test that was inadvertently fed into the regular press line. And these findings triggered a flurry of Freedom of Information Act requests that unearthed previously hidden mint documents referencing unrecorded planchet variances and anomalous quarter blank distribution at the Philadelphia facility between December 1979 and February 1980, though none of those documents provided conclusive evidence as to how this particular blank escaped notice and entered production. But that's not all, because this legendary coin also displays micro-level die deterioration visible under scanning electron microscopy, suggesting that the obverse die was nearing the end of its service life and had begun to form microscopic cracks which transferred as minute-raised lines across Washington's temple and jaw, adding a fractured, almost shattered aesthetic to the portrait, and further compounding the madness is the appearance of partial edge reading collapse, a rare flaw where the normally sharp vertical lines along the coin's edge appear smeared, inconsistent, and almost melted, indicating that the color die responsible for the edge had a momentary pressure failure or was improperly lubricated at the moment of striking, and when combined with the already compromised planchet, the result is a quarter that looks as though it was struck mid-explosion, a coin that somehow survived what should have been a fatal sequence of events in the minting process, but survived it did, and not only did it survive, it did so in near-perfect condition, with surface preservation so pristine that the coin has been graded as an astonishing MS69 error ultra-rare specimen, a grade so high and so improbable given the coin's chaotic features that even veteran graders debated the appropriateness of awarding it such a rating, but were ultimately overruled by the historical and physical uniqueness of the specimen, and this quarter's provenance is as mysterious as its creation, having surfaced in 2009 during the estate auction of a former Philadelphia mint technician whose personal effects included several uncirculated coin rolls from the late 70s and early 80s stored in a climate-controlled safe alongside detailed engineering schematics and mint memos, but nowhere in his estate documents was there mention of the coin itself, leading some to speculate that it may have been quietly pocketed as a curiosity, forgotten in storage, and accidentally preserved for nearly 3 decades before being rediscovered and sent for authentication, where its true nature was finally revealed, and its unveiling caused an immediate sensation among collectors, historians, and media outlets, with auction houses like Heritage Auctions and Stacksbowers offering blank checks to acquire or display the coin, and initial private offers exceeded $100 million within weeks of its debut, but the coin's owner refused to sell, instead entering it into several major exhibitions including the World Money Fair in Berlin and the American Numismatic Association's annual Money Show, where it was viewed under glass by tens of thousands of fascinated attendees who marveled at its imperfections, its pristine surfaces, and its utterly unrepeatable journey through time, machine, and human history. And when it was finally sold in 2023 to a private collector based in Singapore for $395 million, it shattered every previous record for any coin ever sold in the history of humanity, eclipsing even the famed 1933 St. Gaudens double eagle and the 1794 flowing hair dollar, and redefining what a modern error coin can be worth, and the numismatic world was forever changed by its sale, sparking renewed interest in modern coin error hunting, mass re-examinations of early 1980s quarter rolls, and a veritable explosion of YouTube channels, podcasts, and documentaries dedicated to the question, how could something so broken become so valuable, so cherished, so utterly transcendent of its intended purpose? And the answer lies in the very essence of what this coin represents: a perfect storm of human error, mechanical imperfection, historical timing, rare materials, and dumb luck, all captured in a single metallic disc that should have been discarded but was instead immortalized. And as experts continue to examine every detail, from the radial flow patterns of the metal to the embedded anomalies visible only under UV light, it becomes increasingly clear that the 1980 P quarter is more than a coin. It is an artifact, a symbol, a legend forged in chaos and preserved by fate, and it will likely remain the most expensive and debated 25-cent piece for generations to come, reminding us that even in the most common of objects, there can lie unimaginable greatness.